The Xlorgen Armada prided itself on being the most feared fleet in the galaxy, until they made the galactic foe passive stumbling upon him. He wasn't just a threat. He was a walking catastrophe wrapped in red and blue spandex, with a grin that screamed oops while entire star systems crumbled. When Superman accidentally demolished their home planet with a casual sneeze, the Xlorgens did what any self-respecting species would do. They ran. But as they landed on a new world, ready to rebuild, they discovered their worst nightmare waving cheerfully at them from the mountaintop. The Xlorgen Armada had encountered countless enemies, vicious predators, rogue AI, even a space kraken that burped black holes. But nothing prepared them for the figure standing in the void. High Admiral Sharn squinted at the screen, trying to make sense of the anomaly. "Explain," he barked, his mandibles clicking in frustration. The scanner operator, trembling like a sapling in a storm, stammered, It's a humanoid lifeform, wearing a red cape, emitting enough energy to light up a dozen suns." Sharn blinked. "A cape?" he repeated incredulously. "You mean like the ceremonial drapes worn by the Order of Overkill?" No, sir." More flappy. Before Sharn could demand clarification, the lifeform turned toward their fleet, floating casually as if it had all the time in the universe. It didn't have a ship, a suit, or a care in the galaxy. Just muscles, a cape, and an absurdly smug smile. "Magnify," Sharn ordered. The screen zoomed in, and there he was, hair perfect, eyes glowing faintly, and the letter S emblazoned on his chest. "What's that symbol mean?" one of the junior officers asked. "Superiority," Sharn growled. "Obviously." "Maybe he's friendly," another voice suggested weakly. Just then, the humanoid raised a hand and gave a small wave. A simple, polite gesture. Unfortunately, the force from that wave sent a shockwave rippling through space, smashing into 3 frigates and sending them spinning like tin cans in a blender. "Friendly," Sharn roared. "That wave just cost me 1 billion credits in starships." The fleet scrambled to defensive positions, energy cannons locking onto the target. Sharn was not one to back down, even when facing a cosmic anomaly with questionable fashion choices. "Fire everything," he commanded. Beams of plasma and volleys of missiles streaked through the void, converging on the caped figure. For a moment, the void lit up brighter than a supernova. The bridge crew held their breath, waiting for the sensors to report the obliteration of their foe. When the light faded, the figure stood there, completely unharmed. He dusted off his cape as if shaking off some stubborn glitter. "Is he mocking us?" Sharn hissed, his antennae twitching. Before anyone could answer, the figure moved. Not flew. Moved. One moment he was outside their flagship, the next, he was casually tapping on the reinforced viewport. "Permission to come aboard," he mouthed, grinning. "Open fire again," Sharn shouted, his voice cracking. The ship's main cannon roared, unleashing a beam so powerful it had once split a moon in half. The humanoid caught the beam. Caught it, with his hand. "That's it. We're doomed," someone whimpered. Then he sneezed. Just a small, casual sneeze. The shockwave obliterated the cannon, 3 nearby frigates, and part of the flagship's hull. Sharn stared in horror. Who, what, why is he? The figure waved again and then took off, heading directly for their home planet. "This is fine," Sharn muttered, watching his crew descend into chaos. "Everything's perfectly fine." High Admiral Sharn slumped in his command chair as the fleet limped away from the disaster. The debris of their once mighty armada drifted in the void behind them, while their home planet, Xlorg Prime, hung ahead like a beacon of safety. Or so they thought. "Any updates on the Cape Menace?" Sharn asked, his voice laced with forced calm. The tactical officer swallowed hard. "He's approaching Xlorg Prime, sir. Fast, like really fast." "How fast are we talking?" Sharn demanded. "Well, if the laws of physics were a suggestion, he's not reading the memo," the officer replied, nervously tapping his console. Sharn groaned and massaged the space between his antennae. "He's just one being. One being. How much damage could he possibly?" The bridge lights dimmed as the main view screen lit up with a feed from their orbital satellites. Sharn turned to look, and his mandibles clicked in horror. Superman had reached Xlorg Prime. He hovered above the shimmering planetary shield, inspecting it like a window shopper debating a purchase. Then, casually, he knocked on it. A dull thunk echoed across the feed, and the shield shimmered under the strain. "Did he just knock?" Sharn whispered. "Maybe he wants to talk," someone suggested hopefully. They all watched as Superman tilted his head, seemingly waiting for a response. When none came, he knocked again harder. This time, the entire shield flickered, its energy signature wobbling like a noodle in a storm. "Activate planetary defenses," Charn roared. On the screen, massive ground-based cannons swiveled upward, locking onto the intruder. Energy beams erupted, converging on Superman in a dazzling display of firepower. For a moment, Charn felt a flicker of hope. The beam struck him dead on. He didn't flinch. Instead, he yawned. Then, as if bored, he reached out and caught one of the beams. His hand glowed as he absorbed the energy, redirecting it into a casual snap of his fingers. The planetary shield disintegrated. "I'm going to faint," an officer muttered. Superman descended toward the surface, landing in the capital city. He looked around with mild curiosity, as if checking out real estate. A squadron of ground troops rushed to intercept him, blasters raised. He smiled, blew gently in their direction, and sent them tumbling into a nearby fountain. "Is he redecorating?" Charn blurted, incredulous. Suddenly, Superman crouched and punched the ground. The shockwave rippled outward, and the entire planet shuddered violently. "Evacuate. Get everyone to the ships," Charn screamed, as chaos erupted on the bridge. Superman took to the skies again, hovering above the now cracking surface. With a casual flick of his wrist, he sent an asteroid careening into the planet, splitting it into fragments. The screen went dark as Glord Prime imploded, leaving nothing but a dust cloud. The bridge was silent, save for the quiet beeping of alarms. "Well," Charn said, breaking the stunned silence. "Looks like we're moving." No one laughed. The Xlorgian fleet drifted through space, a ragtag collection of scorched ships and broken spirits. High Admiral Charn sat in his command chair, clutching a cup of something strong enough to dissolve metal. His once pristine uniform was wrinkled, a casualty of the stress that came from watching one's home planet crumble like stale breadsticks. "So," Charn began, voice weary but sharp, "how's the search for a new planet going?" "Somewhere quiet, unremarkable, preferably nowhere near him." "Sir, we've identified a candidate," piped up Lieutenant Vroop, his voice trembling as if the act of speaking might summon disaster. "It's called Glorpax. Dense jungles, plenty of resources, and zero signs of Cape nightmares." Charn squinted at the holographic display. The planet looked lush, green, and mercifully boring. "Glorpax it is. Set course immediately. And make sure to double-check for unexpected guests. I'm not losing another planet to that guy." As the fleet approached their new home, the tension in the air began to dissipate. Officers who had been operating on pure panic for hours allowed themselves to hope. The bridge buzzed with cautious optimism as the ship slipped into orbit around Glorpax, its thick green surface a soothing balm to their nerves. "Landing teams, prepare for deployment," Charn ordered. "Let's see if this jungle paradise lives up to the brochure." The first few hours were promising. Scanners confirmed breathable air, edible flora, and a lack of hostile megafauna. Ground teams reported back with glowing reviews of the planet's potential. Finally, Charn muttered, leaning back in his chair. A fresh start. No explosions, no collapsing planets, and best of all, no. Sir?" Vroop interrupted, his tone drenched in unease. Charn's antennae twitched. "What now?" Vroop gestured nervously to the main screen. "We found something on the surface." The display zoomed in on a mountain near the landing zone. Burned into its rocky face was a massive, unmistakable S. Charn froze. His mandibles opened and closed uselessly. "Tell me that's a natural formation. Or a glitch. Or..." A comms officer cut him off. "We're receiving a transmission, sir." "It's him." Before Charn could respond, the view screen flickered, revealing the grinning face of their nightmare in spandex. "Hey, you guys made it," Superman said cheerfully. "I was starting to think I scared you off." Charn stared, his mind a swirling void of disbelief and despair. "What, why, how are you here?" "Oh, I needed a vacation spot," Superman replied casually. "Saw this place, thought it had potential. Great for gardening, by the way. You should try the local tubers, they're amazing." Charn's claws dug into the armrests of his chair. "You destroyed our planet." Superman shrugged. "Accidents happen. Anyway, I baked some muffins for you guys, blueberries my favorite." The comms went silent, and the bridge descended into chaos. Officers shouted over one another, panic taking hold. Charn stood, eyes wild. "Pack up, we're leaving." Again. "Now do." Somewhere deep in the jungle, Superman watched the fleeing fleet with a contented smile. He had plenty of muffins left. The Xlorgen fleet was in full retreat, blasting away from Glorpax as though their very existence depended on it because, frankly, it did. High Admiral Sharn stood at the front of the bridge, glaring at the view screen with eyes narrowed so far that even his mandibles seemed to shrink in fear. His officers looked like they'd seen the ghost of the universe itself, which, considering the circumstances, wasn't far off. "Tell me again how this happened," Sharn demanded, though he already knew the answer. We did all the checks, sir," Lieutenant Vroop stammered, voice trembling. Glorpax was perfect. There were no Cape lunatics, no cosmic catastrophes, nothing. Jaren slammed his fist on the console. "We can't keep running from that maniac. At this rate, we'll need to start scanning every single moon for a S symbol. We'll never settle anywhere." A soft beeping interrupted the chaos and a voice crackled from the communications officer. "Sir, we're picking up something?" "It's him." Sharn's mandibles clicked with fury. "Are you telling me he's followed us across the stars?" The officer hesitated. "Not exactly, but it seems he's decided to join us." The screen flickered to life. A shot of a new planet appeared, one they hadn't seen before. It was small, peaceful, and wait. Sharn squinted. There, etched into the tallest mountain on the planet, was the very same S logo they'd hoped never to see again. "Oh no," Sharn groaned. "Not again." As the fleet dropped out of hyperspace, the unmistakable figure of Superman floated in the sky, casually waving at them like a neighbor welcoming them home after a long vacation. "Well, you guys didn't waste any time," Superman said, grinning. "I had a feeling I'd see you again." Sharn stood frozen for a moment, trying to process how in the universe one man could be everywhere. "You how WHY?" He finally choked out. Superman floated down, landing with a soft thud. "Hey, no hard feelings, right? I mean, I did destroy your planet by accident, but it's not like I meant to do it." "Of course not." Sharn snapped sarcastically. "You only obliterated an entire world without even breaking a sweat. What's the worst that could happen?" Superman chuckled, a sound that sent shivers through the bridge crew. "You know, I'm really into farming now. What I've been doing a lot of soil testing. You guys should try growing some stuff here. It's got great potential." Sharn gaped. You're farming?" "Oh yeah. I'm thinking about starting a little side business. Maybe I'll even give you guys a discount on the crops. You know, after all the destruction." Superman winked. The crew was beside themselves, murmuring in disbelief. Sharn, unable to cope with the absurdity of it all, threw up his claws in surrender. "That's it. I'm done. You can't even destroy a planet without looking like you're giving a cooking class on the side." Superman, unfazed, clapped his hands together. "Well, if you're done here, I've got some muffins. Blueberry, of course. You sure you don't want any? I've got a ton." The Xlorgen fleet once again found themselves fleeing into the unknown, their collective minds still trying to comprehend the cosmic prank they were the unwilling stars of. As they jumped to hyperspace once more, the last thing they saw before they disappeared was Superman standing on a mountain peak, a basket of muffins in one hand, and a contented smile plastered across his face. "Good luck with the whole escaping me thing," Superman called after them. "I'll be here baking." The Xlorgen fleet was well on its way to what they hoped was the final destination, a remote corner of the galaxy, far from any planet with a glimmer of a cape. The crew was exhausted, strung out from the endless cycles of fleeing, hoping that this time, just this once, they'd finally get a break from the cosmic nightmare that was Superman. High Admiral Sharn paced restlessly in his quarters, nursing a headache that felt like an entire star system had collided with his skull. "We need a plan," Sharn muttered to himself, running his claws through his frayed antennae. "A plan that doesn't involve him showing up at our doorstep." The tactical officer's voice crackled through the comms. "Sir, we've entered the new system. No sign of any red-caped individuals." Sharn froze. "This is it," he whispered to himself. "The one place he won't find us." Minutes later, the bridge crew anxiously awaited confirmation that their hiding spot had gone unnoticed. The new planet they'd located was uncharted, perfect for a species who had learned the hard way that not everything should be labeled safe until further notice. "We've begun scans," the comms officer reported. "Atmosphere is breathable, and I don't know how to say this, but it seems completely normal. No S symbol anywhere." "Praise the stars," Sharn breathed. He began to relax, shoulders unwinding as the tension seeped out of his body. This was it. No capes, no flying men with godlike strength. Just a nice, calm, utterly boring planet. What could go wrong? We'll make planetfall in 15 minutes, the officer continued. All systems are clear. No signs of any unwanted attention. Sharn, feeling something close to peace for the first time in eons, sat down in his command chair. That's the way I like it. We've earned this. The seconds ticked by like minutes. The countdown to landing seemed too quiet, too serene. The fleet began to descend toward the planet's surface, and Sharn allowed himself a small, satisfied grin. Then, the communications console beeped softly at first, and then more urgently. No, Sharn whispered, as if speaking it into existence might make it go away. Sir, the officer stammered, we're getting a transmission. Sharn stood up so fast, his chair spun into the officer beside him. Is it him? The officer hesitated, then grimly nodded. Put it on the screen. Sharn spat. His teeth gritted. The view screen flared to life, and there, floating just outside their new planetary orbit, was the one, the only, the unavoidable Superman. He waved. I'm starting to think you guys really like my company. Superman's voice boomed over the comms. I've been checking out this planet. It's perfect for a weekend getaway, don't you think? Lots of room for activities, maybe a picnic. I hear the local fauna is pretty tame. Sharn, fists clenched, looked like he might implode. Again. Superman continued undeterred, his smile blinding even through the screen. You know, I was thinking about trying my hand at farming here. I've already scouted out a couple of nice fields. Maybe I'll throw in a few crops for you guys, too, on the house, of course. It's the least I can do after, well, you know, the whole destroying your planet thing. Sharn barely managed to hold himself together. Get off this planet. It's ours now. Superman shrugged nonchalantly. I don't know. It's got a nice vibe. Besides, I brought the muffins. I didn't know if you wanted blueberry or chocolate chip, but I figured I'd bring both. The bridge crew couldn't hold back the groans. Sharn had heard enough. That's it. Everyone, prepare to move again. Pack the ships. We're done. As the fleet powered up for another painful jump into hyperspace, Sharn couldn't help but wonder, was the universe just messing with him? He could almost hear Superman's voice calling after them as they fled. Good luck finding me next time. I'll be here, you know, enjoying my muffins and maybe saving the planet. Again. The Exlorgian fleet was battered and broken, more a collection of weary survivors than a cohesive fighting force. High Admiral Sharn sat in his command chair staring blankly at the endless void. His eyes were bloodshot, his antennae drooping in defeat. The crew had all but given up hope of ever finding a safe haven where they could exist without the looming shadow of Superman's Cape Mischief. We need to stop running, Sharn muttered, a dangerous edge to his voice. We've jumped, we've fled, we've escaped, but we're still stuck in this cosmic nightmare. The comms officer spoke up hesitantly. Sir, there's a planet ahead, it's not on any charts. Sharn turned slowly, as if the very idea of another unknown world had already exhausted him. Is it another paradise for Superman? Negative, sir. No signs of anything. The officer paused, then added, at least nothing unusual. Sharn narrowed his eyes. At this point, I'll take unusual over that guy any day. They dropped out of hyperspace, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, there was silence. No Superman. No S logo carved into mountainsides. No muffin-bearing menace hovering over their heads. Just a quiet, desolate planet. The surface appeared lifeless, barren, even no signs of intelligent life, no towering cities, just sand, rock, and a few scattered craters. For a moment, Sharn allowed himself to breathe. This is it. This has to be it. The fleet descended to the planet's surface, the landing gear touching down with a soft thud. The crew exhaled in unison, relieved. Sharn stood and stretched, his limbs sore from days of tension. Prepare the ground teams, he ordered. Let's establish a base. Secure the perimeter. We're staying here. Hours passed. The Xlorgians set up camp, establishing communication arrays and surveying the planet's resources. There was something almost surreal about it. No threats, no caped crusaders, just the quiet hum of routine. Looks promising, the lead scientist said as he analyzed the soil. We found water reserves, minerals, and no signs of anything unusual. Sharn smiled for the first time in what felt like forever. It's about time. Maybe we can actually live here. As the day wore on, the crew set up makeshift shelters, gathering supplies, and mapping the planet's terrain. Everything seemed perfectly normal. They were finally going to make it. Then the ground began to shake. Sir, the tactical officer yelled, pointing at the sky, you might want to see this. Sharon's stomach dropped as he turned to look. There, in the distance, against the setting sun, was a familiar silhouette, a figure flying toward them with impossible speed. He recognized the way the air around the figure shimmered as it pushed through the atmosphere. It was too late to run. Superman landed softly on the ground, his boots making a satisfying thud. He waved at the startled crew, his trademark grin plastered on his face. "Hey there," Superman called out cheerfully. "I was just passing by, and I thought I'd check out this planet. You guys aren't still running, are you? I figured we could hang out, maybe grab a few space drinks. Oh, and I brought more muffins." Sharon was too stunned to speak at first, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. How did you find us here?" Superman shrugged. "Oh, I have a sixth sense for finding places with good energy. Plus, I'm a super fast flyer. It wasn't hard to spot the landing lights." Sharon collapsed back into his chair, staring at the ceiling. We can't keep doing this. I'm going to lose my mind." Superman raised an eyebrow. "What's the problem?" "I'm just here for the muffins and some friendly company. You've been running so much you look like you could use a break." The rest of the fleet stood frozen, unable to process the absurdity of their situation. For the millionth time, Sharon was left to wonder, was there anywhere in the universe where they could be safe from this relentless, cheerful menace? Superman's voice cut through the stillness. "By the way, I've got blueberry chocolate chip. And..." "Enough," Sharon screamed, unable to hold it in any longer. "We're done. We're not running anymore. We're quitting." Superman blinked. "Oh, okay. Well, when you're ready for some muffins, you know where to find me." Sharon buried his face in his claws. The universe, it seemed, had a cruel sense of humor. The Explorgian fleet sat in orbit around their new home, a barren rock in the middle of nowhere. High Admiral Sharon had long ago abandoned the idea of peace. It was a distant memory, like a dream fading upon waking. This place wasn't perfect, but it was theirs at least for now. He stood in front of the viewports, his gaze fixed on the dead world below, wondering if the universe was ever going to stop torturing him. "All right," Sharon muttered under his breath. "No more running. We've made it. Finally." His second-in-command, Vroop, appeared at his side, looking as exhausted as a creature could possibly look without actually collapsing. "Are you sure this is it, sir? You're sure we won't be seeing him again?" Sharon glared at Vroop, as if the very mention of Superman's name might cause the maniac to reappear. "I'm done. We're done. This is the last stop. If that idiot shows up here, we'll..." Before he could finish his sentence, a familiar voice rang through the air, cutting him off mid-rant. "Hey there, I thought I'd stop by and see how the new digs are going." Sharon's eye twitched. Slowly, he turned to face the screen, his worst fears confirmed. There, floating just outside the fleet's protective shield, was none other than Superman, wearing his trademark grin and holding a large basket. "You've got to be kidding me," Sharon growled under his breath, his claws digging into the armrests of his chair. Superman waved like he was greeting old friends at a reunion. "So, I'm guessing you're settling in? I thought I'd swing by and see if you needed any assistance. I'm really good at helping people out." Sharon's patience had officially worn thin. "You are everywhere." Superman tilted his head, looking genuinely puzzled. "What's wrong? I thought we were all buddies now. After I totally didn't mean to destroy your planet last time." Sharon was almost too angry to speak. "Buddy, you think this is some kind of game? You've destroyed 2 of our planets. 2. And now you're here. Again. Do you not have anything better to do than ruin our lives?" Superman smiled sheepishly. "Well, I do have other stuff going on, like saving the universe and baking muffins, but hey, I'm just checking in. I brought you all some snacks and I thought..." "No." Sharon snapped, his voice rising. "We've had enough. Every time we think we've escaped, there you are. Are you following us? Is this a joke to you?" Superman blinked, completely unfazed by Sharon's outburst. "Wait, hold on. Are you saying you don't like muffins?" Sharon felt his entire being about to implode from sheer absurdity. "I don't care about your muffins. I care about the fact that my people have been fleeing across galaxies, and everywhere we go, you follow us like some sort of cosmic shadow." Superman scratched his chin, looking thoughtful. Well, it's not like I'm doing it on purpose. I just like checking in on you guys. You're so interesting. I've never seen a species run quite like you." Sharon was now on the verge of losing his mind completely. "Interesting. We're not interesting. We're just trying to survive." Superman grinned. "And survive you will, just as soon as I make sure you're well fed and rested. I'm pretty good at that part too." He casually set the basket of muffins down, his tone lighter than ever. Now, I don't want to pressure you, but if you're not too busy being angry at me, I'd love to sit down and share a snack. Sharn glared at the screen, seething with frustration. You're impossible. Superman smiled again, unaffected by the fury he was causing. I'll leave you to your surviving. But hey, just so you know, I'm always here, just a phone call away. And with that, the maddening figure of Superman vanished into the void, leaving behind a fleet full of weary aliens who could no longer even muster the strength to scream. Sharn dropped his head into his claws, completely spent. That's it, he whispered. I'm done. We're done. The universe has officially gone mad. If you enjoyed this wild ride, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Sci-Fi Horizon Stories for more intergalactic chaos, muffins, and of course Superman-sized headaches.